Where does slang come from? Slang, as defined by the Cambridge University Dictionary, is very informal language that is usually spoken rather than written. In this speech, I will be addressing the origins of slang, how people choose to use slang, and how it spreads. It is important that we understand where slang comes from because of how it can affect the development of slang in the future. The first documented use of slang was as early as the 1720s. It was found in the London Journal, which published an essay that compared slang in poetry. Slang was believed to primarily be used by the lower class and was heavily associated with criminal activity. Early slang was somewhat of a secret language designed with the intention of excluding people not a part of the culture of criminals. Slang was sometimes even referred to as thieves' Latin. The term slang itself has had many different meanings throughout history. Slang began to convert into a verb rather than a noun for a small amount of time, meaning to exploit someone via dishonest means. The etymology of the term slang itself isn't certain, and theories out there are considered unsatisfactory. Some believe it is derived from the French word sling, while others believe it is derived from the German and Dutch words for snake. Generally, it seems linguists are mostly able to agree that slang is derived from some word with a negative connotation. Because of the history of slang, it is no surprise that today we associate slang with immaturity and negative intentions. But in all honesty, everyone uses slang in their day-to-day speech. Oftentimes, people who are quickest to judge are those of older generations. They argue that the usage of slang is destroying people's ability to use proper grammar and formal language. But this is a very hypocritical belief because people of all generations have had their own slang terms. Older slang terms may include giggle mug, word, dude, and more. I believe that the majority of the hate towards younger generations actually stems from frustration coming from feelings of confusion and exclusion. This is not a new frustration, though. Having spoken to my own parents, they also recall being judged by older generations for the way that they communicated with their peers. All that is to say that slang terms have very clearly been used by all generations of people, and it is not fair to assume that because of the most recent slang that we are losing our ability to use formal language. If anything, we should respect and celebrate younger generations finding ways to connect with their peers and create culture through language. The judgment we receive based off of slang is completely unwarranted. If anything, slang in the past is a part of how it spread into future generations. The same terms may not be used, but it has most certainly inspired younger people to invent their own terms to communicate with others whom they relate to. Apart from how slang has inspired words commonly used in the past, slang typically spreads through cultural groups. The spread of slang is typically not because of geographic proximity, although that is important, but instead through like-minded people. Geography is mainly only important when understanding the spread of words in the past, but because of technological developments and media, slang is able to spread even without being in close proximity and much faster. It is also important to note that slang is almost always moves from small groups and subtly expands into larger groups of people. These groups might start out as friends, colleagues, clubs, teams, or other groups you can think of. And they start these terms and they eventually leak out into the outside world. Once people begin to hear these words being said, they will adopt them into their own vocabulary, and eventually it becomes a commonly used slang term for its time. The constant changes and developments made to slang terms is a part of how our language evolves and shifts with the people who speak it. Because this slang can quickly become outdated and the meaning of words can shift rapidly through different generations. So what can we expect for the future of slang? Honestly, it's difficult to say. While some believe that due to these extreme shifts in our language, it will lead to completely informal speech and writing. I believe that that is highly unlikely. In my personal opinion, I think that slang will actually lead to more creative speech and use of syntax in the future. Sadly, sometimes creativity is not widely accepted, especially in times focused on conserving traditions of the past rather than accepting new ideas of the future. My hope that as the next generation matures, that we accept them and do not judge them for the way they choose to communicate with their peers, and celebrate new additions to our wide collection of informal slang terms.